Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Friday, November 22nd, 2024. I've been doing a daily countdown of my 366 favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 40 is Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. This game is technically just a Game Boy Advance remake of Kirby's Adventure for the Super Nintendo, so you could argue this is really a ranking for that game. After all, most of the differences are fairly minor other than some great visual and audio upgrades, but there is one real addition in particular that makes Nightmare in Dreamland significantly better, making it the definitive version of the game, which is great because this is my favorite Kirby game. There's simultaneously not a lot going on here, and also just an insane amount of things going on here. This is a very light, cute, and fun Kirby game with just an insane amount of abilities for Kirby to copy. Like in every Kirby game except the first one, for many enemies, if Kirby sucks them up and swallows them, he copies whatever attack they can use. There are 25 copy abilities in this game, and they range from pretty standard, like the sword, to situational, like light, which allows you to see through very dark levels but doesn't actually attack anything, to some really fun and different ones like wheel, where you turn into a giant wheel and roll back and forth very quickly, running over enemies like a motorcycle. It's a blast. Levels are played across a number of worlds, with several stages in each world that must be played in order. The game, at least at first blush, is not especially difficult or anything, but does require you to at least pay close attention to several of the enemies. There's a ton of little things that make it so incredible. First, every single level is just very fun and charming. The way each stage is revealed is very cute and fun too. The bosses are a blast, and while this game is not serious or hardcore or anything, literally at no point at all, from start to finish, am I ever having anything less than what I would describe as a great time. There's a ton of fun little things between levels too. Like you can gain a bunch of extra lives by playing these mini games, like basically hot potato with a bomb, or a combat arena. One of the actual differences between Kirby's Adventure and Nightmare in Dreamland is that a couple of the mini games are different, adding, for example, a simple racing game themed on grinding rails with a warp star. Fascinatingly, this came before Kirby Air Ride, but despite their difference in release dates, Air Ride would have been far in development before Nightmare in Dreamland came out, as it was originally planned to be a Nintendo 64 title until it was pushed back to be on the GameCube. There's also ability museums, allowing you to slowly accumulate a collection of copy abilities that you can just pick from between levels if you want as you progress through the game. You never get access to all of them, as some are more special or rare than others, but you do get a lot of the staple kind of abilities, so you can kind of pick whichever thing you want going into each stage. There's a ton of variety to the levels themselves, of course, and at no point did anything stick out as like a weak link. They're just all very good. Now, when I first played this game, when it came out, I was 8 years old and not very good at it, so I definitely found myself struggling against the later bosses, but several years later, I replayed the game and found they weren't actually, that crazy. The difficulty is definitely a bit easier here in Nightmare in Dreamland than in Kirby's Adventure the first time. After you beat the game once, you can start again on a more challenging difficulty. This feature is in both games, but it's done a bit differently. For Kirby's Adventure, you have half as much health as normal, and you cannot save, meaning you've got to do it all in one go without really messing up, almost at all. In the remake, you can save, which obviously makes it way more manageable, but beating that unlocks Nightmare Mode. This is, of course, exclusive to Nightmare in Dreamland and where the title actually comes from, and it is the reason that this is the definitive version of the game to me, and much better than Kirby's Adventure. The thing that makes Nightmare Mode so great is that you do the whole game all over again, third time's the charm, you know, with half the hit points, just like before, and increased enemy difficulty, just like before, but this time, you're playing as Meta Knight. I love Meta Knight. That dude is so awesome. He's just amazing. Meta Knight plays very differently than Kirby, and not being able to do any copy abilities and just use a variety of attacks and special movements he can do with his sword and wings makes it a very different experience. So you're not really, like, the level design is the same, but the way you're approaching a lot of these fights, especially boss fights, is going to be radically different compared to how you do it with Kirby. So it's almost like getting a new game. I, of course, did not beat this game 2 times in a row for you just to record a little bit of gameplay of Meta Knight, but trust me, it is glorious. Nightmare in Dreamland exemplifies the best strengths of the whole franchise, and even of the character. It's light and fun, exuding a childlike wonder and charm that is hard to escape, and all of the different abilities bring a smile to my face while doing some laid-back, casual platforming that all is packaged so brilliantly together that I really struggled to put the game down even after all these years. Join me tomorrow as I talk about my 39th favorite game, where I swear this game with crystals, turn-based combat, and a literal job system is not a Final Fantasy game.